San Sebastian and Ermita is located immediately south of Mérida's central park called Gran Plaza. In the early 20th century, San Sebastian was known as the Barrio Bravo, a dangerous area where young men fought amongst themselves and with groups from other barrios, especially in the neighboring Ermita. Between 1900 and 1920, when the rest of the city was swimming in money and building homes whose grandeur is legendary to this day, this area was experiencing a guerra de barrios, meaning a war of the neighborhoods, and guerra de esquinas, war of the corners. Men and boys would form gangs that took the names of the corners, where they would gather to recount their deeds and plan their next fights. The men of the Barrio Bravo were known for their pugilistic skills to the point where confrontations became almost institutionalized, with rules for who could fight whom based on the weight and skill of the participants. The fights eventually were fought cleanly and became a locally attended sport. In colonial times, San Sebastian was part of an area given by the senior Francisco de Montejo to his son, who organized the indigenous Mayas from the areas where he wanted to build his estates, and moved them all into an area now known as San Sebastian. For hundreds of years, this was the area where the disenfranchised local Mayans and lower-class immigrants lived. When Yucatán governor Lucas de Galvez, after whom the central mercado in Merida is named, was killed in 1792, it was generally believed that the killer came from San Sebastian. For the longest time, only the poor lived here, passing their days outside the city walls, living in homes of stone and straw, or in the dark and dusty streets and plazas, as it was effectively abandoned by the city in regards to improvements. Before the building of Calle 59, the de facto entrance to Merida, on the south and west was up Calle 81 and Calle 66 through San Sebastian and Ermita. That was the route taken by Salvador Alvarado when he marched from Mexico City to bring the Mexican Revolution to Merida. Just a little historical note, the name Yucatecans have for people who move here from Mexico City is huachas, which is said to be the sound made by the boots of the men. Tarde. Was originally built in the 1700s and was a wayfarer's shrine dedicated to Nuestra Señora del Buen Viaje, meaning Our Lady of the Good Journey, Merida's local equivalent of Saint Christopher. Ermita was the last place to say your prayers before you set out on the dangerous trip to Campeche in the west. The lovely little church is still surrounded on two sides by a botanical garden with very old fig trees dripping with roots and vines. The garden is inhabited by ghosts, according to some people, and dotted with signs describing Maya and colonial structures no longer in attendance.
Sorry?
With its multi-level pathways and artificial waterfall, It is a favorite place for residents to walk and wander. For the last few years, San Sebastian and Ermita are seeing a revival among expats, as these areas have been the target of much beautification by the city of Merida. The stunning church in San Sebastian still stands, flanked on two sides by a shady park and a sports area with a large fenced field for baseball and soccer, as well as the much used basketball court and a brand new exercise court. On the Calle 75 side of the church are government offices that used to be a police station. It is said that the metal fence surrounding the courtyard was built with the muzzles of rifles, repurposed after the Mexican Revolution. Extranjeros are moving into the area, attracted by the large plots of land available for lower prices than similar ones in Uptown, in Santa Ana or Santiago, as well as for the authentic neighborhood feel. The park in front of Ermita's church was also renovated a few years ago with a new playground, Wi-Fi connections, and a computer docking stations.
Sorry?
The streets around Ermita have been reset and repaved with the original bricks. San Sebastian boasts a food market with fruit and vegetable stalls, butchers, and cocina económicas on both sides of Calle 70, where dining on Yucatecan food under the stars is a local pastime. These particular restaurants are very popular with local Meridanos from other parts of the city and are quite busy on weekend nights. There are public and private schools around the park, an extra convenience store, and one of Merida's favorite antique stores at the corner of Calle 72 and 75. San Sebastian is known for its fairs, and throughout much of the year, booths and penny arcades are set up around the park, sometimes joined by Ferris wheels and merry-go-rounds. The first 2 weeks of August are especially busy here, when it seems like half of Merida comes down to enjoy San Sebastian's famous feria, with voladores, which are homemade bottle rockets, and papier-mâché bulls and music. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of one of Merida's neighborhoods. I'm going to be making other videos of the other popular neighborhoods to visit or live in Merida, as well as some other videos of the city, including the cuisine, the cantinas, and the different things to see and do in Merida, as well as in the general area, including the coast, cenotes, small towns surrounding the city, etc. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to see those other videos of the city of Merida, I have a link in the description below this video where you can find all those videos of Merida, as well as the other videos I've made traveling throughout eastern Mexico this time around in 2021. You'll also find in the description a link to the first time I traveled through Mexico 3 years ago, bicycling through the country, through western and central Mexico. That was part of a larger trip, bicycling through Latin America. I've also bicycled through Eastern Africa and Eastern Europe, and I have playlists for all those countries that I've bicycled through available on this very same YouTube channel, Hum of the Earth. Alternatively, if you'd like to see an interactive map of everywhere that I went and everything that I got to see and do, I have that available over on my website, followthehumoftheearth.com. Where you can click on the different locations and see the various blog posts and videos that I've made of those places. And if you'd like to follow my continuing adventures through Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula and beyond, you can do so by clicking on the red subscribe button and clicking on the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Alright, so that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.